This is it, guys. This is the day I fly to Moscow to start my epic Trans-Siberian journey. 3-week tour across Russia. I'm nervous, I'm excited. I've made it to Dublin Airport, it's pretty quiet. I've just checked in for my 2 flights. So I'm flying with Air Moldova for the very first time. Right now it's 10 p.m. I fly at midnight and I'm not going to get to Moscow till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then I will make my way into Moscow city centre, get to my hotel, check in, and I'll have about 2.5 full days to explore Moscow. It is my first day here in Moscow and I'm crazy excited to be here. And my very first stop had to be the very famous Red Square, right in the center of Moscow. It is home to the Kremlin, St. Basil's Cathedral, and some of the most famous buildings here in the center of Moscow. So I'm about to meet my friend Yulia, who's actually from Yekaterinburg, another city in Russia, but is living in Moscow at the moment. So I'm just waiting now to meet her, and then I guess we're just gonna look around and check out some of the sights. Okay, so it is July in Moscow, but it just started raining. It's not too heavy, just trying to protect a little bit, but check out how pretty this street is.
We've come here to this very international sort of food court, loads of different types of restaurants like Chinese food, Japanese food, Taiwanese food, Italian food, Russian food. We decided to go for some duck bao and also some traditional Russian beer. This is my first beer of the trip. What's the name of this beer? Zhiguli. So it's a popular Russian beer. So let's have a taste.
Very popular.
Very popular. Traditional but not popular. So. Tastes like beer.
So my very first tip for visiting Moscow would be, even if you come to the Red Square during the daytime and see all the main sights, I highly recommend staying around at nighttime as well. All the buildings are lit up, as you can see, the big shopping centre here behind me, and then obviously St. Basil's Cathedral is also lit up, which you can see right behind me there. I'm getting some really nice nighttime photographs. It's been raining today, but it didn't even matter, as I was actually, okay, I got wet, but it doesn't matter. I was able to get some really cool kind of puddle reflections. So I was walking around for about 20 minutes looking for a big puddle, and I eventually found like this kind of manhole cover and had water all over it. So I was able to like get down real low and take some really cool pictures of St. Basil's Cathedral reflected in the puddles. It is my second day here in Moscow, and I'm just about to go on a Moscow metro tour. So the Moscow metro is one of the most famous metros in the world and also one of the most beautiful. So we're going to go around to some of the prettiest, most beautiful historical metro stations, find out the stories behind them, the stories, the legends.
Roughly half the population of Moscow uses the metro every day. It still manages to be quite efficient, so the average waiting time is about 90 seconds during rush hour and about 2 minutes outside of rush hours.
Our first stop on our Moscow tour is Revolution Square metro station, and it is famous because there are over 70 bronze statues decorating the entire station. And a lot of the statues are actually the same at all the different stops or at all the different platforms within the station, but there's over 70 in total. So you can see a lot of the statues have sort of worn out areas of them, and they say that if you see a statue in Russia that has sort of a shiny spot, then you should rub it too, and it will probably bring you good luck. Could give you a good family, good luck, a lot of money. And if you see a statue that does not have any shiny bits on it, then it means that it probably brings you bad luck. So you should not touch it, you should definitely not rub it. The next stop on our metro tour is Komsomolsky Station, which is generally considered the most beautiful metro station in all of Moscow, if not the world. You can see there's 8 stunning frescoes, 8 stunning paintings on the walls that depict a speech that Lenin gave in 1941, I think. You've got beautiful pillars everywhere. It honestly looks like a palace, and they say it was nicknamed the Palace of the People, and you can see why. This is by far one of the most beautiful metro stations I've ever been in my whole life. The next stop on our tour is Kursky Station, and it's a really beautiful station like many of the others, but one of the main reasons we've stopped here is that it was actually used as a bomb shelter during World War II. So many of the subway stations, because they were so safe and so far down, were used as bomb shelters. And this one was actually used as a library. So some had beds in them, some were used for food distribution, and this one in particular was a library. So they had desks, they had chairs. People could come down here at night time and get some work done, whereas in the daytime it would just resume service as a normal metro station. Our next metro station is Novosodlansky. Oh, I'm probably pronouncing that all wrong. It was very famous for its, what looks like stained glass windows from a church, but it's actually like one painting with light behind it. You can see the red star in a lot of them, the symbol of the Soviet Union. You can see one of them actually has a self-portrait that the artist put in. And this station is made to symbolize Russia during times of peace. One of the final stops on our metro tour is Belaruski Station. This station was built to celebrate the culture of Belarus, which was one of the founding members of the Soviet Union. There's a lot of beautiful paintings on the ceilings that depict farming scenes, people giving each other flowers, soldiers coming home from war. The next metro station on our tour is Mayakovsky Station. It is actually named after the poet of the same name. And even though it looks really beautiful, really clean, really modern, it's actually from, I think he said 1955. It's one of the oldest stations anyway. But the poet was way ahead of his time, and so they designed a really modern station. So out of all the Moscow metro stations, they say this one is actually the loudest. So I have about 30 seconds to record this before the next train comes and you can't hear what I'm saying. But because the acoustics are so good in this station, sometimes they have, here comes another train. Yeah, because the acoustics are so good, sometimes they have entire orchestras that come down here and they set up seats and stuff, and they have performances right here in the middle of the metro station. I just finished up with the really cool Moscow metro tour. I would highly recommend it. I got to see so many of the most beautiful stations here in Moscow. Hard to believe some of them were actually metro stations. Guys, we've come to this really cool cafe here in Moscow. It's kind of like a themed restaurant. There's like a prison section and a housewife section and a doctor section. So we're kind of like in the hospital. So we've got given like doctor's lab coats. There's all sorts of interesting decorations, and yeah, something fun, a novelty, something different to do in Moscow.
So this place is called Kusochki, and it's a very special one. They have different territories where you get really immersed into the atmosphere. In this case, we are in a hospital, so we have all the attributes. We get dressed in a special clothes, and we have a prison and also a home where you have housewives serving you. Yeah. Let's go.
Guys, look at the beer. It comes in like a jar and you have to open it. Strange.
It's not finished.
Is it a skull? Oh, it's a skull.
Of course it's a skull.
And you have to finish it yourself. Okay, so I got these little syringes. What? Whoa. Okay, wait. See the cream.
What is that?
Cream.
No.
Спасибо.
Юлия.
Принести с пампушками. Давайте.
Юлия.
Спасибо.
Спасибо большое.
Пожалуйста. Enjoy your meal.